They're guys. They do magic. They are the Magic Guys.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Magic Guys. It's me, Jason Ma, and of course Josh Norbito, and together we form the Magic Guys, because otherwise it would just be Magic Guy. Yeah.
That's right, we're both here, and the sign has lived to see another week. I actually really like this sign. It's grown
I put a
on
lot
me.
of work into it, I put a lot of time and effort into that. We hired Banksy for that one. Now guys, today we wanted to talk about something that only magicians could really discuss with other magicians, and that you guys will be able to listen in on. And that is, what's better, being a corporate magician or being a street performer? Let's be real, we know the answer. Street performer. Josh, anything you want to add?
Well, I think before we dive into that, we should bring up, that we've done an episode first before this one.
Right, okay, so we actually did record an episode. No word of a lie. We recorded an entire 2 episodes, so episodes 2 and 3. They were in the basket. They were in the proverbial bank, the vault, ready to be published. But thanks to your constructive criticism and your feedback, we've decided to up the ante a little and make our podcast just a little better.
Yeah. So thank you for everyone who watched episode number 1, firstly. Whether you're watching it live, not live, but in video form, you can actually see us. Hey, Mom! On YouTube, or you're listening to us on Spotify and iTunes, because we're verified now. You can listen to us on Spotify. Just search for The Magic Guys Show, because The Magic Guy was taken for some reason. Anyway.
He's not even using it, I bet you. Son gun.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I guess it's a generic term.
So now that we've got all that out of the way, Josh, thoughts on corporates versus...
So the question is, what's better as a career, corporate magician or street show magician? Basically, the immediate night and day that I see is one is standing in the hot sun all day trying to show people magic that don't want to see it yet, and you have to convince them and win them over. And the other one is you're hired to be there. People are already in a mood for enjoying themselves, and you're not in the hot sun. So obviously I'm going to be biased because that's my whole career, as being a corporate magician. So
well, here's my thoughts on the subject. Let me tell you what I think. All right. I think...
All right, tell us how corporate guys are weak. Go for it.
Well, you just said it. There you go. Corporate guys are weak. Everyone's expecting you to be there. Let's see you go out into the street and build a crowd. Well, I know you can do it, but let's see someone else do it. Let's see... You know what? Maybe being a corporate guy's better.
It's a hard skill set, 100%. It's a different beast, right? It's a totally different beast.
I can tell you that both are probably just as rewarding. You can definitely make an amazing living off being a street performer, which I've done. Also, there's a certain freedom that comes with being a street performer that you don't get as a corporate guy. And that is that I don't need to go to work. I don't need to talk to clients. I can just, if I want to make money, I'll just go and make money.
Yeah, there's an absolute freedom to being able to do that. And our good friend, what's his name? Our good friend Joel, Stuntman Joel on Instagram, he does exactly that. He lives 2 streets away from where he busks. So he can literally wake up and go, oh, I'm going to make X amount of $100. I'm going to go down, make it, go home, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Freedom, right?
It's absolute freedom, but damn, it must be a hard slog to do that, time after time, to completely build the crowd, because there's 0 people watching to start with.
See, this is coming from someone who's not done it.
I'm watching from the outside, obviously.
So when you start out, it's hard. Obviously, being a street performer is hard, but being a corporate guy is probably hard as well. Nervous, approaching little groups of people at the tables, whatever.
And even to be able to get booked in the first place, is a grind.
But building a crowd on the streets, it becomes a formula, right? So now, when I started, it was hard, and I was like, why aren't they watching me? I don't understand. But now I just go out there and I will just get a crowd. And it's because there's a formula that you follow. There's spectatorial triangulation rules. Yeah, you don't even know what that means. No, it just means the angles in which you perform and stuff. And then also things like attention grabbers. So a big balloon and you pop it, it's going to make a noise and people are going to look, right? And then if you're interesting enough, I always had this kind of look about me. It looks a bit odd. It attracts a lot of attention, right? Meanwhile, Josh here, all clean cut and nice and shaved, and you know what I mean? No one looks at him twice.
Thanks, bro. No, I think they're just so different, but, and also, I'll be honest too, at one point, I'm not romantic to the idea of only doing corporate work, but it definitely just caters to my lifestyle better. And like my voice is naturally softer, and I don't do so well in the sun being so pale. But I did apply for a busking license once and I didn't get it. I auditioned and didn't get it. So I think that was the world telling me to just continue what I'm doing, or I just wasn't that good. But, you know, I think the other thing is I've tried different avenues too. When I was first trying to do magic full time, you know, when any magician or when any small business tries to launch their thing and start doing it full time, it's never like just a light switch and you're all of a sudden doing it. So before I was able to get work consistent enough, I had to do things to make up for that gap in income, you know? So
Oh, yeah.
the
Some
first
things, eh?
Yes. Some sneaky things using sleight of hand.
Couple of things on the side, eh?
We don't talk
The
about
slow
that.
hands.
Yeah, the slow hands. So in the beginning, I actually started selling trick decks of cards at markets.
Oh,
So
yeah. Well, I sold them with you at one stage there.
did you?
Yeah. You remember the rapid fire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did it at the, was it that children's venue?
Oh, yeah. We did try that.
Yeah, that's a long history.
That's a long history. That's the venue we had our first ever duo stage show.
Yeah, it was awful. It was
I'll insert the poster for that
shocking.
on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. The poster for it, we called it the
52
52
cards or something?
show
Oh,
or
52
something.
pickup. 52 pickup.
Yeah, we called it show 52 pickup. How classic is that?
How perfect was it too, though? Because we did in fact pick up 52 cards.
100%, 100%. But apart from that, like I would go to these Sunday markets every weekend from 6 a.m. till midday and sell these cards because I wasn't romantic about just doing gigs. Like I wanted to just make a living from magic however I could. So I would sell these cards every day, and even just doing that, being under a shade, you know, I'm not in the hard sun and having to draw a crowd, but even just having to demonstrate like how these kids, you know, magic cards work for 5 hours was so daunting and like tiring. The thing that I find tricky now, like now that I enjoy doing street magic all the time, I'm like, you know, busking could be fun because it's, for me, if I was to do it, I would probably not do it like the best way to capitalize, but I would do it kind of like street magic-esque, but people are paying you. But I kind of, and what do you think about this? I mean, I feel like there is a little difficult point where if you are a busker, how do you still charge a large... Someone's doing burnuts behind us. How do you charge a large sum of money as a corporate magician if that client first sees you on the street and tips you $5? How do you then... Like, is there a perception of value switch somewhere? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And this is something that I've had a few corporate guys ask me, actually. They say, I don't do streets because it's going to affect my image as a corporate guy. And the truth is, if you're good enough, it doesn't matter. So like when I do my street shows, these people, they want to book me. They want me to come to their events. Okay. And so they're happy to pay for it because they've seen how good I am now. It's almost like doing a demonstration. It's like, have you ever done those things where you go to like a wedding
a showcase?
Event? Yeah, showcase, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you kind of just show your skills off for free so that people might book you, right? And then they'll book you, but you're doing it for free. So how is that any different to doing streets, right?
Well, I think a showcase, they know they're seeing vendors showcasing their work, whereas if they see someone busking, they assume that they're there. This is not right, but what they think, I believe, is that they're there obviously to make their living and they're trying to make some money. I don't think people realize how much money street performers actually make. Oh, we don't want to tell people?
We don't tell people how much.
Otherwise more people will do it. But there's like, if you think right now, how much does a street magician make busking for a day? I think people think they make like $50 or something. Like if you know, from a layman's point of view, they're like, oh yeah, good on him. And it's like 10x that. I won't go into it. But anyway, so I think because people have that perception, they think, well, if you're only making $50 for being out here all day, how come I can't just pay you $100 to be at my event? You know, why are you trying to charge me $1,000? That's the thing that goes on in my head, you know?
Well, I will say, I don't charge as much as, say, you, for example, for a corporate gig. Because I know that I'm not a corporate magician. But I still charge my worth, if that makes sense. So if someone wants to hire me... Like, here's the thing. I do streets purely out of enjoyment. I love doing the streets. It's just fun for me. And if some client looks at that and goes, oh, he's not going to be worth that much and tries to hire me for less, well, they're probably people I don't want to work for anyway. Because if they're people looking for cheap entertainment, you wouldn't want to work with them. Why would you want to work with that? But what happens often in cases is the gigs that I book, I think all of my gigs, because I never had a website until this year, but I still booked a lot of gigs. Like I still like probably like a good like 40% of my earnings in a year came from gigs. The rest of it was from streets and doing all other kinds of crazy stuff. But those earnings all came from just word of mouth. People had seen me on the streets, they liked my stuff, and they hired me. And they never argue the price either. I say X amount, they pay it.
Amazing.
And that's like, I think that falls into the category of, because you're saying like, oh, how do you justify charging this much if you're doing it for free anyway? It's like, well, at what point do you find yourself not enjoying what you're doing? For example, I see you posting content all the time. Why would someone pay for you when they can just watch a video of you doing it?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
That's a good point.
It's a total, it creates this whole different experience of like a genuine connection, especially between a performer. Like if you pay for you to go to the event, you're creating an atmosphere for that entire event, right? You're bringing the energy, you're bringing the magic, you're bringing the fun, the laughter, all that sort of stuff. And that's no different for me. Even if I'm a street performer going to this event, I'm going to do the same thing because they want that infectious energy into their event. They see me build a crowd of 200 people, of strangers on the street, people who have never even met anyone like each other before. And they're all standing together, having a good time, having a laugh, clapping, cheering, and then they happily walk up and give me money. I think I get what you're saying there. There is this point though with street performers. So I'm not a street beggar. Right, and that's the difference. There are street performers who hound the money. Like they have this, there's a thing called a bottle speech, and all street performers apply this to their show, where you talk about the money and stuff. But my bottle speech is literally just like, if you like the show, feel free to give some money. That's it, right? I don't expect money. I don't really care if I get it. But then there are the magicians that go out there and they hound the money. Like they give you like a 20-minute spiel on why you should give them money, and it's like this desperate plea for cash, and that I think would then lower the perceived image that they have.
Guys, you are getting like the real juice here. This is the real scoop on street performing. What about, and I don't want to, what you just said is so vital. Like I don't want to just skip over it so quickly, but to come back to it, a great example is how about Wayne? Our good buddy Wayne.
Oh man, that guy's killing it.
So Wayne is not even a street performer. He's a performer, but he's not like a magician or something.
He's a balloon artist.
Yeah, he's a balloon artist, and he basically performs for the kids like while he's sculpting the balloons. Like he twists them in a really entertaining way. And what you're talking about, how people can sort of come across as desperate or begging, Wayne he's found a way to be the complete opposite.
He's so authentically great. Like you just something about him. He's so infectious. You just want to be around him, right?
And here's the thing that I love is when someone goes for a really elaborate balloon sculpture and they ask how much will it be, and he just says you just pay what you think it's worth. And not only does he say that, he doesn't want to know how much money you give him. So when they go to pay him,
it's even more than that. So I have seen him. So someone will come up and be like, oh, can we get this balloon, right? And then they'll take out a card to pay, right? And he goes, oh, I don't actually have a card. And they're like, oh, okay. And he's like, no, don't even worry about it. Just take the balloon anyway.
Wow.
He just gives it away. Like, he doesn't care. Because, and in his mind, what he says to me, which I thought was great, is it's exactly that thing. Like, the Gary Vee book, right? What is it?
Jab, 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 right hook.
Yeah. It's exactly
which
that
we'll talk
principle.
About in a second.
Yeah, it's exactly that principle where he just gives. And because he just gives so much, the community just wants to give back. And he ends up, I'm not going to say anything about how much he earns because I think that could be detrimental to his health. But the thing is, though, that he's very comfortable in his life. He's married to a beautiful woman and he's living his best life. I would say it's his best life and he's very happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's...
And the thing that I love seeing when he finishes a balloon is when they go to pay him, he goes, no, I don't want to know how much. And he has like a box that people put the money in. So at the end of the day, it's like a thing for him. He's like, oh, I wonder how much I made today. Like he never knows. It's, it's so crazy. Like imagine doing work for someone. Like imagine in your profession telling a client, I'll do the work for you and you pay me whatever you think it's worth, but don't tell me how much you're going to pay me. Like that's such a crazy
also,
crazy
I don't know
thing.
if you know this too, but he also lets them handle the change. So he has this box of money And then he just goes, just put whatever you want in there. Don't tell me how much. Help yourself to change. And people just reach in and they take out their change.
It's so good.
There's every chance that people are stealing from him. He wouldn't even know.
And he doesn't care.
He just does not care.
So like that's the proper way. The way he's doing it, the way Jace is doing it, like that's the way to street perform. That's awesome.
Well, it's giving an experience without an expectation.
Yeah.
That's the most powerful thing you can do.
Yeah,
I think a lot of magicians forget this too. Magicians especially forget this. They seem to value their magic based on monetary amounts, but they forget that you need to create an experience, like a proper experience. And if you don't create that experience, well, why would anyone want to pay for you?
100%. And a way to know if you're doing well, if you're in the corporate scene at least, is are you getting rebooked by your clients, or are they referring you to other clients? Because if they aren't, then you haven't given them enough reason to do that.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to do it as well. But, we've talked about heaps about street performing. Just quickly, with corporate work, the great thing about corporate work is that...
Streets are better.
is that my calendar is full and I know where I'm going and I can plan it out. And I like to dress up in suits and be that sort of elegant style for the event I'm performing at. Because when you're at an event, you should always try to dress better than the people that are going to be there. Think of it like a costume. So I can plan out what I'm doing, where I'm going to be, and I can go to the event, and I can see the venue, and I can do certain effects from within, like make it look organic with how the room is laid out. And that kind of stuff is what really gets me going, is that kind of feel to it. But that's why we're different beasts, but we still kill it in our own field, But
isn't that funny too, though? Because I relish the chaos. You know what I mean? Like the chaotic nature of streets and markets and trade shows and stuff like that. I relish that chaos. But I actually find when I do a corporate gig, I'm a little lost because it's just so relaxed. Everyone's just so
interesting.
Chill. And I'm just there where's the chaos? I need someone to push someone soon.
I got to start yelling so people watch me. Oh no, I can just walk up to them.
It's funny though. But it's funny because there is one thing that I can say, I think that if you put a street performer on stage with a corporate magician, the street performer is going to have far more energy, assuming that they're good, obviously. And same with the corporate guy. I think don't get me wrong, there's a point where a corporate guy can overtake with their energy in a show. So there are guys that do Vegas shows 5 a day. Those guys are probably insane. I mean, they are insane, right? Mm-hmm. But then there are the guys that only get booked sometimes to do a show. And there's only so much rehearsal you can do before you need the actual experience, right? And so I think going from the streets to stage is much easier than going straight to stage.
Yeah, and same with being a close-up magician before being a stage performer.
Yeah.
Same thing. If you can learn how to interact with people on a close-up magic basis, you're getting so much more stage time before trying to just go straight to stage, which some people do. And some people do effectively, but other people, they learn the stagecraft, but they don't learn the interaction part with people. Because that's what makes a show so good, right? Is the banter between the audience, which makes it feel raw and new every time you have a show.
Not only that, it has to have this really natural flow to it.
Sure.
Which I've really enjoyed watching you do yours. So I attended your show at the Blackbird. Great energy, great flow, really good. And then, but there are people that do. Oh man, I'm not going to name any names, but let's just say. Anyway.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this person is the kind of person who just buys store-bought tricks and then just performs them on stage. But the whole show is literally do a trick, stop. Do a trick, stop. Do a trick, stop, finish. And it's there's no flow to it. It's just chaos.
Yeah, and
it's absolute chaos on stage.
And not only that, they're doing tricks that are they're not meant to be doing. they don't have the rights to do it. Anyway, that's a whole dark side of magic. But,
Yeah, I won't get into it too much.
In other news, can I tell you about a really bad experience I had?
Yes, I've been waiting to hear about this.
I didn't tell. So we've just talked about how good we are as performers.
Give me the juicy scoop.
But I'm about to tell you that we are all human, and I had a pretty bad experience with a booking last week. So right now, we're midst of Christmas, corporate gigs. It is the season to be doing magic.
There's a lot of chaotic gigs out there at the moment.
Yeah, and I've been finding something interesting. Last year, for those who don't know yet, I was on Australia's Got Talent, which is a TV format of like America's Got Talent, but a smaller version, I guess. And since being on that show, it gave me a sort of boost in people booking me for stage shows as opposed to roving magic, because now they've seen me on this big platform.
Killing it, by the way. Killing it.
Thanks, man. And because of that, people are like, yeah, we want that energy, you know, on our stage, which is great because I love doing stage shows. But because of that, in December...
I saw your Insta story, right? So when you say stage...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm getting to, man. So when a magician does a show on stage at a corporate event, there are so many factors that have to be in the right order and set up for the show to be as successful as it can be. One of those things is, where is the stage in the room? Is there a dance floor between you and the audience? Because that is going to kill 60% of the energy because now they're too far away. Are there obstacles in the way on the tables? Like every table at a banquet will have a centerpiece. Is that too tall? Is that blocking them from seeing you? Are some of the tables to the side of the stage so they're not actually seeing the show? Yes. They're seeing the side of the show. Anyway, there's so many things. So typically what we do as performers is we have a show writer, like a contract for what technical stuff we need in order for us to do the show, and we send it to them. And for the most part, clients are really great and they set it all up well, and you walk in there and you've just got everything you need, and that just allows you to do a really good show. So there was one particular client that I had, which was last week, and not their fault, but what happened was the person that was booking me left the company, and someone else had to take over for them. You know, so mid-booking, so they paid me and they booked me and everything, and I've sent them all the details, but now someone's taken over and they're just playing catch-up. Like, they're trying to make things just good enough to work, you know, which is fine. They did a great job. Not their fault. Not my fault.
It's their fault. Let's get them.
So I rock up to the venue, really nice venue for roving magic, but I get there and first thing I notice is there's no stage, like there's no platform. The second thing I noticed is what I thought was going to be a sit-down dinner is actually a stand-up cocktail event.
Oh, boy.
So there are tables. Like, they have put these long tables for people to sit down and eat at, but they're serving canapes. And the bar, this venue has 2 rooms. So the room that has the bar in it is in a separate room. And then the room that the show would be in is a different room, which has the long tables, but also has pool tables to the side. People can play pool. So there's a big gap. And then there's a band set up, but in that big gap, they've actually set up cocktail high tables in front of those big long tables. So if you were technically in front of where the band was, the people sitting down at these tables wouldn't even be able to see you because the cocktail tables are in the way. So there's really not a great setup for a show. Anyhow, I'm always in the mindset of we'll make it work. There's going to be some kind of a show at least. So I talked to the venue and we move these cocktail tables out of the way. So at least the long tables can see us, right? I do a sound check. They've organized a headset for me and everything. And at the time when we did the tech rehearsal, it all worked really well.
Oh, no.
So now I'm like, great. So for Christmas parties, people are a lot looser than normal. They're like, they're drinking a lot more. It's their time to relax. They're definitely not being formal etiquette like at a conference or something. So I know this. So I always cut back my stage shows from 30 minutes to 20 minutes because I know that's probably the amount of time I have the attention for. So I look at the run sheet, and what they've done is they have all of these speeches happening, and then their plan is to have a half an hour break and then have me on stage. And the first thing I notice is that's a little red flag, because in that half an hour, people are going to get sloshed, right? They're going to drink because now the formal stuff's over. I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. So what ends up happening is I've done all the rehearsal. I do my roving magic first because I'm doing roving magic before the show. Mm-hmm. And everyone's loving the magic. Like, it's as it should be. People are reacting to it. People are relaxed. People are enjoying the event. But what I notice is no one is sitting at these long tables. So I'm like, great. Everyone is standing up. This could be an issue because no one wants to stand still and watch a show for 20 minutes. That's just not a good way to prepare. So I'm like, oh God, all right, cool. Still, I'm going to power through it. I'm a professional. Then the client goes to get everyone's attention to start the awards. And it takes them literally 5 minutes of them on the microphone saying, guys, please come to the front. Please stop talking. We're going to do some awards now.
Boy.
It takes them 5 minutes just to get their attention and to stop because it's a Christmas party. Everyone's in just a happy, drunk mood. Okay. So I'm like, oh boy. So they eventually get everyone's attention. Now, while they're doing the awards, the client comes up to me and says, hey, I've just realized how crazy our audience is. You know, we probably can't get their attention again later, so we should probably have you do your show, you know, right after the awards. And I'm like, that's the best thing I've ever heard. So now I quickly go and get myself ready for the show. And I'm ready to do the show. And by the way, I'm like, this is going to be so great. I'm going to film this. So I have this footage of me bombing too, by the way, which is great. But every time someone finishes an award, like every time someone accepts their award, they say, oh, great, look, I'm going to be quick because I know we don't want to be up here for ages, but thank you, blah, 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 blah. And everyone keeps saying that, like, I'm just going to power through quickly because I know we don't want to be up here, you know, for long. I'm like, oh, God. So they've just heard this like 10 times.
Yeah, they're like setting a precedent.
Yeah, and then while they're up there, I decide to turn my headset mic on just to do a quick check. I always make a little sound or something, like usually like that, just to hear it, you know, in the ambience of the room that, okay, it's working. So I turn on my headset and I hear the god-awful sound of like ringing, like, ooh, like this. And the client and the people giving the awards, yeah, just like that.
Sorry about that.
Just like that. You could almost answer that on a loudspeaker. No, don't do it because we don't have to answer. We don't know who it is. So, so I quickly turn my headset on. It makes an awful noise, and I look at the sound desk guy, and I go, "Hey, that noise you just heard, that was from my microphone." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, maybe turn it off." And I'm like, yeah, I will turn it off, but I need to do a show soon. So I'm going to have to turn it on. He's like, yeah, probably don't turn it on because it's going to make that noise again. I'm like, but you don't understand. I have to use this microphone to go on stage. So if I don't turn it on, you know, what are we going to do? And he's like, oh, it's probably because there's 2 microphones running. They're using the handheld. I'm using the headset. So the last guy gives his speech, like the boss of the company, and then they say, oh, so because we can't have a dance floor, we've booked an amazing magician to perform for us. And he starts reading out my intro. And that's fine. And then I come on stage and there's this moment where my music's playing, but I have to grab his microphone to turn it off. I do that, and then as soon as I turn mine on, mine starts screaming, and I'm like, great. So my microphone's going off. That takes about 20 seconds to fix. And during that time trying to fix it, what do you think happens in 20 seconds of nothing happening?
Everyone left, right?
Everyone starts talking to each other, continues drinking, continues partying. So the microphone comes back on, but at this point, even though everyone's still in the room, they're all just talking to their own groups of friends. And it was just a comical moment where now I'm doing a show to the 4 people that are in front of me because everyone is just talking. No one has any awareness that I'm doing a show. So I'm doing this show, and I'm doing some pretty good magic.
For 4 people.
For only these front 4 people. And I'm just like, at what point do I just give up here and just call it quits? But I'm not just going to stop mid-routine. So what ends up happening is no one is paying attention to me except for these 4 people, to the point where I go out to get an audience member. I'm like, all right, let's bring someone on to have some fun. I pump my Mission Impossible music, and I go up to someone, and he says, "Oh, can you do some magic for this girl? It's her birthday." And they're like excited to see me again. I'm like, bro, I'm literally doing a show right now. Like, if you just spin around, you can watch like this whole presentation I'm doing. But they're just too gone. What ends up happening is, as a professional, you have to make a decision. And I decided to just make the show 5 minutes long. So I did one set. The 4 people that were watching loved it. And then I just simply said, look, guys, everyone wants to drink and have fun. So let's end the show here. I'll continue doing some roving magic instead. I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. And I leave. And the client was actually so embarrassed for her audience. Like, the fact that they didn't give me the time of day. She was so embarrassed and like, almost like teary-eyed. She's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know why they're being such a-holes. Like, I can't believe this just happened to you. But for me, it didn't affect my emotion at all.
Let me just interject here.
Yeah.
That never would have happened if you were a street performer. Just going to say that, you know, building crowds is our MO.
Yeah, you can take it however you want. Like, this is a time when I was at my lowest, like I bombed. So I just want to be honest, it happens to everyone. But so I just ended the show super quick.
That's great.
And the client apologized, and I just kept doing roving magic instead. And that works so much better. So something I've learned is that now during Christmas time, I just always try to push the roving magic because of times like that. Sometimes you just can't control the elements.
And how many times has this sort of thing happened to you? How many times have you bombed, do you think? in your, let's say, the last 2 years?
That was
that was
really
it? Like one?
that was the only time I couldn't do the whole show.
Wow, that's impressive.
Because normally an event is normal, and like if there was a stage there, if people were actually sat down like they thought they would be, it would be fine.
Yeah, it just
But-
sounds like poor planning, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I got a gig recently. It was great. I loved it. But there was definitely the similar sort of thing where like they were like, all right, do some close-up magic. I was like, great. And I'm moving through the crowd, and then all of a sudden they start awards behind me. Just suddenly, like I thought I was doing an hour of close-up.
Oh, no.
And then just like the worst part was though, I'm hunched over a table doing the card trick, right? I've got them engaged. We're about to deliver the punchline, and all I hear is this voice booming over the speakers going, Jason's just finishing up his routine, and then we'll get started. And I was like, oh,
They're
what?
waiting for you.
Yeah, I was like, no worries, I'll just go fuck myself. I just
Oh,
put the
shit.
deck on the table and sat down.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Oh
It
boy.
was great. Don't get me wrong. Great event. I loved it. It was really good. Very special clients. It was amazing. But the whole that moment was just so funny. And I was like, and then I messaged Josh about it because I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And he's like, actually, that's pretty normal. I was like, what?
Yeah. Sometimes the good thing about roving is that you have to be durable with, when you're performing.
Because I'm not a corporate guy, right? So doing this event was a funny experience for me. And Josh is just like, yeah, that's surprisingly normal.
Yeah. Something else that I've learned that I've been able to tell every performer that I've like been doing a gig with is that when you're at an event, when they start doing their speeches or awards, they will always reference you. They will say, thanks for our photographer, thanks for our photo booth, and thanks to our magician. And now I'm always ready for them to say that. And I always do something magical in that moment. It's
Like
normally
throw a
like
fireball or
throw
something. Yeah.
fire. And it just makes that little bit extra wow, because people, you hear them go, oh, whoa. And that's a little tip. When you're at an event, they're always going to reference you on the
Noted.
yeah, they're always going to reference you on the mic. Be ready to do something, whether it's spring cards, anything, because it will happen. And when you miss it, you'll be like, oh, that's the point he was talking about where I should
Yeah.
have done a thing,
Still good though.
Still
Yeah.
good. Do we want to touch on the Gary Vee thing we mentioned earlier?
Yeah, go ahead.
So-
No, you know what? You've talked enough.
No, yeah. I'll set it up, and then you tell us the story that I'm going to
Okay.
mention. So, we love Gary Vee. If you don't know who Gary Vee is, you'll thank us later when you look him up. So, there's a thing
Yeah.
called jab, 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 right hook. It's a book he brought out, and it basically references the idea of when you want something from someone. For example, people trying to get more subscribers by messaging people saying, "Hey, please subscribe to me." That's the worst way you could go for it because you're asking for something straight away. The idea of jab, 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 right hook is to give, and then ask. So not even take, just ask. And
expect to know. Or,
yeah, no expectation, just ask. And the reason I bring this up is a lot of people wonder how Jason blew up with his 365 challenge in reference to Chris Ramsey, one of the biggest magic channels around today, why he shouted Jason out and why he gave him so much love. And some people think it's luck that he just so happened to come across it. But Jason's been given so much giving to help Chris's content that finally Chris decided, wow, I should do something to help. So I've set you up here.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. Well, the way that it all worked for me was I started the 365 project purely for me. But prior to that, I ended up getting posted onto Chris Ramsey's channel a lot, like maybe 4 or 5 times. I'd get messages like every time I was featured on his channel, I'd get like 100 messages that day from people being like, "Oh, you're on the channel, watch the video." And that was because Chris Ramsey started a subreddit so that he could, create more content, right? It was great. It's a great idea, by the way. And his the whole point of it was to watch people do magic and then react to it. So I was like, all right, I'll just post some stuff, right? And the one thing, there's a few things. One, I saw some people that would post into his Reddit, but they would post like their YouTube channel attached to the video and stuff like that. Or that at the end be like, oh, make sure that you follow me here, whatever. But what I did instead was I just posted a magic trick, and that was it. I didn't even mention my name. That's how simple I went.
Like, didn't you have a different name for subreddit?
Yeah,
Like they were
my
calling you
Reddit
something?
Reddit name was Kimari, so nobody knew who I was. And
Amazing.
this is partly intentional, but it was also because I never expected anything. I literally was like, I'll just post it. If he sees it, he sees it. If not, whatever. And I posted it, and immediately my stuff was getting like upvoted to hell. Like they were the top viewed videos on his subreddit, like immediately.
Yes.
Every video I posted, mind you. And then he started reviewing them. In fact, the very first time I was featured on his channel, I was featured twice in the same video. Featured two of my videos, yeah. And then immediately after that, I was featured in the next one that he did, and he preferenced it by saying, "I love this guy." You know, like he was excited to see me on the channel again. And this kept going on five times. 5 times this happened, right?
Damn.
And then I was like, cool. Like he's posted me heaps, and like in the process of doing that, he found out who I was on my Instagram first. So and then he tagged me in some posts, and I got a big following on Instagram. Like, well, not a big following, but like a few people started following me. And that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But I still never asked for anything. Never asked for anything. And then I started the 365 challenge, and this was purely for me because Eric Leclerc did this challenge 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago now. And I remember watching it being like, one day I'm going to do that. And so this was for me. This was completely for me. And I just started doing the challenge. Anyway, Chris Ramsey caught wind of this and decided to completely shout me out, which took my subscriber base just jumped. It just leaped forward, which was great.
Jumped like 1,000 subs in a day.
Yeah, but it also put me in a position to meet a lot of other magicians, like Spidey and Eric himself. Like put me in a position to just meet people, which was insane.
It put you on the map, bro.
Yeah, but I still never asked for anything. I still don't. In fact, to give you an example of like, just give without asking, I recently had Eric Leclerc on my channel, and now I've shouted him out on my channel a few times without ever expecting anything, and it's probably not going to do much for him anyway because my channel is not as big as his at all. But
not yet.
But I still did it, and then I was like, I'm going to perform this trick, this great trick. It was like a puzzle, not a puzzle, sorry, a Lego blocks paddle trick. It's great. It's a really good trick. But rather than asking him to like send me the prop to help promote his prop, I just bought it. I paid for the prop. And I didn't even tell him about it until I'd already paid for it and it was arrived. And then I was like, hey, I'm just going to do this. Like, pretty much just like, I'm just going to do this trick because it's yours. And I think it's good to pay homage to the OG of this game. And then he suggested that he do a cameo. Right. So now I got to work with in some capacity, Eric Leclerc, which was insane when you think about it. So, and this was all just from giving without asking. I even recently just bought like some cards of Chris's. He just released these new V4 cards. I haven't got them yet, but they'll arrive. But my God, the
V4s.
Oh man, it's so upsetting too because the price is great, right? It's like for 12 decks, it's $110 or whatever. That's like $9 a deck, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I bought these decks in USD.
Oh boy.
And I bought 2 bricks. So originally it would have been 220, but because of the exchange rate, that immediately jumps up to like almost 300 right there. And then there's the $50 USD shipping. So it's probably about $400 just for these decks.
What does Yuki think about this?
She doesn't know.
she doesn't listen to the podcast.
That's my wife. No, she does. She did listen to it.
Oh boy, you're in trouble now.
No, she liked it. She thought it was great. And if she listens to this and realizes that, But
just tell her you're sorry in Japanese.
Gomenasai. That's how you say sorry.
There you go.
Yeah. So my whole point of this whole story is, if you want anything in life, try to give value before you ask for value. So just keep giving out the best that you can do. Like, everyone's got experience in something. It could be anything. Like, you might not be a magician. You might be working in sales. And I think some of the best salespeople do the same thing, where they just give you information. They don't even ask you to buy the product. They just tell you, this might be best for you. They might even offer a cheaper product because it could be better for you, right? And that's just giving value and then asking, would you like to buy it?
Yeah, I mean, another version of that, another variation. I mean, I don't know how long we want to continue ranting, but we'll continue.
What are we up to?
I think we're up to like
41 minutes.
41 minutes.
That's fine. With a touch of editing. I'll tell you what. You can finish your thought, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right. We'll put a little bow on it and put it to bed. Wrap it up. So, okay, look, my version of give, and then ask is when I wanted to become a keynote speaker as another avenue of shows and income as a magician, there's a whole story to becoming a keynote speaker. But when I had created this keynote speech, I had to learn how to get booked as a keynote speaker. And as it turns out, the way that companies book keynote speakers is they book them through agencies, speaking bureaus. And the reason they do that is because they know if someone's listed with a speaking bureau that they probably are good. Because just like there's tons of magicians, but there's only a small handful in every city that are professional. So it's pretty easy to sift through what one you are going to like for your event. But when it comes to keynote speakers, there's like hundreds in every city. So it's way too hard to sift through and know if someone does it on the side, if they actually have a good speech, because someone can be really knowledgeable but not be a showman. So anyway, companies always book their keynote speakers through bureaus. So I needed to get listed with a bureau. Now, every speaker is hitting up bureaus on a daily basis to be listed with them, to be represented by them. They get, at least 20 applications a day, my bureau was telling me. So as a magician, I'm like, all right, how do I give them value so that they almost feel guilty and want to work with me based on that, It's like this positive guilt, if you give someone so much work or help, eventually they're like, oh, I better, help this guy out. So what I did was I found my own booking as a speaker. I found my own engagement. So I went to a client that had booked me for magic previously. I'm like, hey, I had this keynote presentation. How about I be a presenter in your conference? And it was a really hard grind to get that first booking. But I got them to book me as a keynote speaker. And then I took this contract to the keynote speaking agency and said, hey, I don't want work from you. I want you to work for me. Here's an engagement. Can you manage it and take your commission from it? And they were like surprised. They were like, whoa, no one does this. No one gives us work. Like normally people want stuff from us. So they managed this booking. It went great. They got the commission. And that's how it opened the door to me becoming a speaker with them exclusively. And it was literally the next day after me giving them that contract that they put me forward to like a keynote contract in Thailand. So like they put me forward to Boost Juice as a company. They put me forward to speaking for this company like the next day, one of their clients, this overseas contract. It was all because I gave them something first. So give as much as you can. I think there's a saying in business, like if you want to hit your own goals, help someone else hit theirs first.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. So
anyway, guys, that's it for day number 2.
Not day number 2. That's it for episode number 2. Thank you so much for listening, viewing, subscribing, downloading. We love y'all. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. I was about to say tomorrow.
Boom.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. It's time for us to disappear now. But we'll see you again on the next episode of The Magic Guys.